us a little bit late. She's at a band concert downstairs in the PAC. I have proof of notice. Thank you for that, Katie. So we have posted the agenda. First up tonight, we do have to make a change. I'm proposing a change to the agenda, so I'd be looking for a motion to, we'd like to move action item C1, which is our 26-27 food service prices. We'd like to move that down to informational items tonight. We will not be taking any action on that, but we will come back in June or July and take action on that. So if that is agreeable to board members, I would entertain a motion to make that adjustment.
I'll make the motion to move item C1, the 26-27 food service prices, down to informational items.
Thank you, Nathan. Is there a second? Second by Heather. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 4-0. Now I'll take a motion to approve the revised agenda.
I will make the motion to approve the revised agenda.
Thank you, Mary. Is there a second? Second by Heather. Is there any discussion? All right, we'll take a vote. And all those in favor of approving tonight's agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. We now have an agenda. All right. Can move into our consent calendar. I'll get a motion on the table to approve the consent calendar.
I will move to approve the consent calendar.
Motion by Mary and a second by Nathan. Any discussion from the board? I would like to take this opportunity to recognize some retirements. So, Mr. Andy Weiland, after 27 years of service, has put his notice in for retirement, which will be effective August 31st, 2026. So, can't thank you enough, Andy, for the great work you've done for our district and putting us in the spectacular financial position that we are today. So much more to say about your contributions to the district in the future months, but recognizing your many years of service and just been a tremendous asset to this district. So I want to start off by saying thank you. And then also we have Jim Snow, custodian at RCI, 29 years of service, who is also going to be retiring. We do have new staffing assignments in the packet. I'm not going to read through all of those, but you can review those or have reviewed those. And then we'll recognize our community members with donations. So we have Oregon Athletic Boosters with 3 separate line items here: $479.72 for lacrosse supplies, $3,095 for athletic support, and $15,000 for new wrestling mats. We have a donation from Melissa Shotku for $14 for a food service balance donation, and then our Oregon Choral Boosters, $350 towards FES music. As always, we appreciate those very generous donations. With that, Katie, could you please call the roll for the consent calendar?
Dr. Lakuta?
Yes.
Mr. Hensel?
Yes.
Ms. Garrison?
Yes.
Mr. Pankratz?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. All right, moving right along, we go to our information items. We'll start with the superintendent's report on student highlights. Dr. Bergstrom.
Thank you. We're featuring 2 youth apprenticeship spotlights tonight, and the first one you see on the screen features Annabelle, who works as a medical office assistant at SSM. In this role, Annabelle prepares patients to see the physician, for example, takes vitals, reviews medical history, and assists with medical procedures, such as performing EKGs, ear flushes, and skin lesion removals. That's all pretty amazing stuff for a student who is still in high school. And then our next spotlight is on Ruben, who works as an HVAC youth apprentice at 1901. During a typical workday, Ruben assembles fittings and piping that connect to boiler systems and chiller units in commercial and industrial buildings. Now, sophomore and junior years are the perfect time to investigate youth apprenticeship options. So contact your school counselor or Ms. D'Amelio, our school to career coordinator, to discuss this option. And many thanks to our area business partners who continue to offer these really outstanding opportunities to our students.
Great, thank you. Next up, we have public comment. Is there anyone here for public comment? Anyone here for public comment? No one's registered, so one last call. Anyone for public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on. No OEA report. Rachel's here, but no report tonight, and no student report tonight. So we now move to C2, our action items, which is cancellation of the May 25th board meeting, and cancellation of our June 22nd board meeting. So our May 25th meeting falls on the Memorial Day holiday, and that typically happens. So we typically cancel our May meeting, and then we typically cancel our June and July second meetings for the summer break. Do you have anything to add? So we just need to make a motion to officially cancel those regularly calendared meetings. So. Oh, yes, I misspoke. So we'll just do June. I'll just do May and June tonight, and then reassess for July. Yep, we'll keep that one on for now. Thank you for clarifying. Motion by Heather. Is there a second? Second by Nathan. Any discussion? Katie, please call the roll.
Ms. Garrison?
Yes.
Mr. Hensel? Dr. Lakuta? Mr. Pankratz?
Yes, motion carries 4-0. Discussion items, committee reports. Visioning. Nathan, I just saw the meeting notice come through. So
We're meeting to discuss a revision to the splash pad recommendation, and I think we'll learn a little bit more about that through both Andy and Leslie when we meet, so not a ton of background right now. That'll be our first meeting of the new board year. And then after our board workshop, we're planning to assemble some themes from some input from board administration to plan out the year and then the meeting load ahead.
excellent. Thank you for that. And then policy, Heather.
Yeah, similar to Nathan, we have our first meeting with the reshuffled committee, and that is on next Monday.
Oh, and when is back to back? Oh, that's why I'm confused. Okay, okay.
Getting after it.
Yes, very good. Busy night next Monday. All right, thank you, committee chairs. And now let's go to, we're going to start with, where are we starting on vision or on information items?
We are starting with visioning and strategic planning, and then that'll be quite fast, and we're moving into food service prices.
Okay, over
Okay.
to you.
All right, so the only thing I'd like to mention about visioning and strategic planning is that one of the reasons that we also discussed canceling the meeting on June 22nd is that our administrative team and all of our leadership team representatives are present on June 22nd and June 23rd, all day, both days, to do additional work that we refer to as OSD Elevate, looking at our school goals, our end of the year data, writing the 100-day plans for the beginning of the year, and ensuring that we have sort of a loose, tight relationship with school planning, meaning there are certain things that all schools need to include in their plan, such as our universal literacy goal, but then they also have the opportunity to create goals that are specific to their school context and their school data. And that's what we'll be doing over the course of 2 days that third week in June. It's a really important part of the strategic planning framework, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention. And after that, the next item up is food service prices, and I can hand that over to Andy.
Thank you. And Mandy's here as well. Yeah, come on up just in case we have questions. I'm going to kind of work through the slides. The intent here today is rather than kind of forcing anybody into a decision, because it's a little bit of a difference in our rationale for what our recommendation is. We thought we'd give you ample time to kind of consider the information as well as ask questions so that when we come back in July, we feel comfortable with wherever we head. The challenges that we've had over the last several years coming out of COVID is obviously rising food supply costs and supply chain costs. So fuel costs kind of work their way through the supply chain, and obviously that's impacting us right now. Labor cost increases obviously is something that we included within the referendum back in 2022, but continue to increase, and so there's an impact there, as well as for very small amount, but somewhat for the health insurance increases that we've approved. And again, food service is one of those, it's really the only kind of standalone activity that we do in the school district. We try, in the most part, not to use taxpayer dollars to subsidize the fund. It's intended to be kind of a self-sustaining business activity. And then decrease in federal subsidies. Some of those decreased for sure after COVID was done, but also there doesn't seem to be as much annual appropriation going into this area, as well as there's even some things that make it more difficult to deal with, such as some changes in public assistance programs that may have influenced our participation in the free and reduced lunch program. There were students that were included in the past, and actually our numbers continue to kind of drop very small amounts, but because some of those programs aren't renewed like they were in the past, we're getting less students that are direct certification of free and reduced status. So that means if anybody has to, is not qualified, then they have to actually fill out the paperwork in order to become free and reduced. So that's lowered our numbers a little bit. So we have those challenges that are there. Our goals are obviously always to increase participation. I'll share a little bit of participation information as well as compare a little bit with other area school districts. We don't have individual school, so I can't compare our high school to, for instance, somebody else's high school, but we can look at it from a district perspective. And we're a little bit on the low side. We're not the lowest one of our neighbors, but we are on the lower side of that. And then implementing operational efficiencies. We'll talk a little bit about what we've done this year from last year. And then the last really thing that we can do is adjust meal prices. So that's why we're here today. So some of the strategies that we've undertaken over the last year is restarted what's called Try It Days. So trying to provide healthier options for students. In order to get them to take those or try those healthier options, you have to give it to them in a different way, maybe fairly often, so that they can change their palates and appreciate the food that we provide. So for instance, we're going to talk a little bit about squash. You see some photos there. And this is kind of connected to, well, I'll just mention implementing OMS grab-and-go breakfast options as well. But then we actually partnered with an organization called Rooted, which does farm-to-table types of situations. And we're lucky enough in Oregon to actually have Anderson Park as one of those places where they're actually growing vegetables. So in the case of Rome Corners, we're literally within a mile of where the food is grown, that it's actually served. So we have a gentleman there who's showing us the gourds in the field, and then how they kind of work through the process and brought into the school and then served up and then right onto the students' tray, so that they can try it and see how good the foods just down the road are for us. So then we tried another thing that we tried to do is our breakfast participation is a little bit lower. So we do provide some options for students right when they walk in the door at some of our schools for breakfast. But then we also have tried a second chance breakfast here at the high school, so that if kids aren't, able to get breakfast right away in the morning, maybe between their hours they can do that. So that's an option between the passing periods. We also partnered with an organization, and we're the first one in Wisconsin to partner with this organization called Eat Real, which tries to push more scratch cooking, into our kitchens, so that we have less processed food, which we understand is obviously better for everyone. And then implementing student-requested smart snack vending machine at the high school. The students are actually proposing to raise the funds for that. They've already gotten one grant. We've had vending machines in the past. It's a little bit of a difficulty from us from a financial point of view, because typically the machines will break, and we'll spend pretty much all the profits just fixing the machines. So having the students actually have some buy-in in the machine and raise the funds for it, we're hoping will protect that machine a little bit better and hopefully get more years of life out of it than our previous machines. So that's what we're going on. Participation, you can kind of see, now this is overall, this is free and reduced lunch per participation. Obviously we have a la carte options too, and kids can take a la carte and not be in these numbers, and they absolutely do. But overall, the free and reduced lunch participation has been fairly consistent over the last couple of years. It did actually increase a little bit this year. Now, I will share that if you try to compare these numbers to the presentation that we provided last year, they're slightly off, because what we did this year is we compared the end of the information through the end of April last year to the information at the end of April this year. If you look at the information last year in the report, we actually had May completed, so the numbers changed a little bit. Our free and reduced lunch numbers were going up, and they've actually gone down a little bit, so kind of a change there that we're going to try to look at, try to figure out how we can influence to the positive. That is a difficulty. I will tell you that 50%, in that 50% range, is very common for our other area school districts. We are on the lower side, but there are other districts, just about every district except one, which just nudged over 60%. I think they're at 61% free and reduced lunch participation. Everybody else is in the 50s, so we're not that far off. I will go on. Yeah, anything you want to share in any of this, Mandy? I'm sorry. Okay, all right.
Hello.
All right.
Hello. Andy did a great job trying to explain everything. This year we really focused on just trying to do participation a lot. I'm working with Maggie here because we're getting a low participation here, and hopefully if the second chance breakfast is well here, we can bring it on to the middle school as well, because we have such a low participation for breakfast. We don't know if it's because it's a later start, so they're just waking up, trying to get on with their day. So we tried different times, different options, and so played around with that this year, which I think that will bring us some sales next year, because there were kids that were excited to see breakfast a little later. There's also a lot of teachers that were excited to see us because they spend a lot of money on snacks out of their pocket for the children. So it's good to see that people are all on board for it. So we're gonna start that at the beginning of next year. Try it days are fun because you get a lot of vendors will try to push things on you, and this way it's fun to see if the kids like that. We did butter chicken over at the middle school. It was so, they love the curried potatoes. So you gotta just keep going out there and see what they like. And it's interesting what one school likes, maybe not the other school likes as well. So that's interesting to me. The picture he has up here is just something that we have at the high school, just to show that's all the options in one day for a student. So, we're trying everything that we can at high school to build up those sales, because they can leave and stuff. And we're trying to do what we can to keep them to stay with us. They have many of options, as you see. They have a hotline, and then we have a lot of cold grab and go. We also have hot grab and go for them. We have plenty of veggies and fruits for them. What was fun about this year, we even brought in a student worker to help open a second line to make the lunch lines go quickly, because that was something that last year that they had an issue with, was standing in line. So that's been fun to see a student worker, and everyone loves seeing Riley in there, and the teachers do too. I'm trying to think of what else. Working with Rooted, I've learned there's not a lot of spring vegetables, so it's a big fall thing. So I think we will be bringing some in and then freezing it as well to use. But that's been fun just to see it local. Definitely for the kids live so close by. They have another farm on the other side of Madison. And then just Eat Real is something fun for us. It doesn't cost us anything. We're just part of this program, and they are kind of here on our journey to help if I have any questions. Even working with other school districts in different states has been like fun to talk about what their challenges are versus our challenges. Definitely like finding local meat is very easy for us here. I'm learning in Georgia, it's not. They have difficulty with that. So I think working with this program, and it's not something that you just you get certified and you are done with. This is something that we can continue on with their journey, and I can lean on a dietitian. I can lean on just them helping if we need more sustainable things and getting less processing and just less waste, which is also more money for us, or less money in the long run. So thank you, Andy.
You bet. The one thing I wanted to show with, or just mention with this kind of collage of photos, right? This is the high school, and this is a photo that 10 photos, I think, or several photos that I asked Mandy to go get just out of the blue last week. So this is a typical day. This isn't a special day or anything of that nature. This is a typical day. Our participation at the high school is really low on a free and reduced lunch perspective. We're in the 34% range right now through the end of April. We have a culture in our district, I think, at the high school for kids to leave. Both my boys left and went home for lunch. That's difficult. Once they get their driver's license, they are mobile. So that is kind of a tough nut to crack. And I don't know if you recall this, but to some degree, I thought this was because the environment in the Commons was not always hospitable. Before, when guidance department, covered the front of that area, it was kind of a dark place. But we added a fireplace and we added lots of natural light and opened it all up. And still, I think we're struggling a little bit with that culture that we have that's been passed on from generation to generation here. So to the degree that we can provide all the options that we can and have the kids stay here and not have to drive anywhere, we really want to do that. But it has been a challenge for us. Mandy mentioned some of this already. We did close one bar line as a way to save money at RCI and at FES. From an equity perspective, we thought we had to do it at both. We did reduce staff hours by 35.25 hours a week. We relocated the production kitchen from the middle school to RCI, and we didn't add hours when we did that. So that 35 hours was still saved. We adjusted menu cycles to make them more efficient. We added a student workout at the high school that Mandy just mentioned a minute ago. And then we started initial evaluation plans for commissary kitchen, which, started with trying some muffins and what was the granola, that's it. Or the home, or what's the oats, the overnight oats, yes. So trying different products, trying to make great choices for our kids so that they're available. So here's some pricing. And again, the second picture is actually the curry potatoes. So wanted to show you what those look like. And we have some, the third picture is just perfect. Oh, they are the overnight oats. Okay. So, and then there's our muffins that we tried this year that we'll try to expand in the future. So our meal prices, you kind of see a historical basis for them here. They have been going up. Last year they went up 15 cents. This year they went up, or 2 years ago they went up 15 cents. Last year they went up 10 cents. Typically that is what DPI recommends. We are recommending something significantly more than that this year in order to make the finances make sense. I did talk to DPI last week. They said there is no limit on how much you can go as far as high, but they did warn that once you go up to a certain price, you can't go back down. So all of a sudden, if our food supply got cheaper significantly or something of that nature, we'd really have to stay at the same price that we're at when whatever you approve. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't think that's a danger because we are subsidizing the food service program already by around $120,000 in order to have those higher wages. So if all of a sudden milk became free in the state of Wisconsin, we'd be okay. We could use that money to decrease the subsidy. So, but that's where we have been. Here's where we're looking to go. A lot of this is projection on my part, and it is a rough projection. There are a lot of things that can happen in the next month and a half. Keep in mind, this was at the end of April. And there are things like inventory that have to be counted and then taken off of the costs that are built into these numbers, that change numbers kind of as we go through June into July and kind of solidify our expenditures. But right now we are anticipating a possible deficit this year of about $42,000. Additional food costs, we just threw a number at this, kind of looking at what our costs were at $27,000. Salary and benefit increases of about $35,000. Pretty soon we're at a $100,000 increase. If you took 40 cents and added that to the number of paid lunches that we sold last school year, you're at $105,000. So kind of our recommendation, our preliminary recommendation at this point in time is to look at a 40-cent increase in order to make everything kind of work out. We obviously want to increase our breakfast pricing. Our breakfast pricing is on the higher side, so we're not proposing increases in breakfast for this next year or any of the other things. We just wanted to kind of look at lunch prices so you knew kind of what it would take in order to get there. The note on the end is last year we had a fund balance at the end of the year of about $120,000. If you take the 42 off of that, we would anticipate a fund balance at about $86,000 for the start or the end of this fiscal year, start of next year. So there are options, obviously. Every nickel increases the price or increases the revenue by about $13,000, $13,150, I think, if you take the number of lunches that we proposed there or that we had last year. So you can kind of get a feel what those increases would be at 20, 30, and 40 cents. And then what we did is we looked at, and Mandy's been able to actually get the lunch proposals from other school districts. I don't know that they're finalized, but they're what the food service directors are talking about. And when we average them all together, we're not far off. We're a little bit on the high side. We're not the highest. We talked about this in the past. Wanakee doesn't participate in the free and reduced lunch program with the federal government, and their prices are higher than ours, even at the 40-cent increase. They do provide a little bit more food, and they provide different types of food than we would be allowed to provide per the program. And that's something that we've kind of talked a little bit about too, is how do we deal with that situation? Are there anything that we can do? When we've looked at leaving the program, the problem is the percentage of free and reduced lunch students for us is probably not double, but almost double what Wanakee's is. So they can do that without having to have lost much revenue. For us to do that, it would cost us more than it would probably be worth to have the flexibility. So what we're proposing here is we're about 37 cents higher than the K4 average in the area. If we go to the 40 cents, we're about 20 cents higher at the middle school levels, and at the high school level, about 35. Wanakee is in those prices. So what we thought we would do tonight is just kind of open the floor. If there are information that you would like to know that we have available, we'll obviously share it right away. If not, we could come back and provide that in July with our final recommendation.
All right. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Mandy. We'll open it up for any questions. Board members, we'll start with Heather.
Thank you, Andy and Mandy. I always want to start with the positive, so I want to appreciate the direction of the real food and reduced processing, the ingredients. I'll call out, Leslie's going to giggle because I often talk about blueberry muffins, but I was super excited to hear more of a scratch type blueberry muffin than, Otis Spunkmeyer or whatever the name of that company is. So thank you for your work on that, and the local meat and the local vegetables and whatever we can do is really wonderful. I guess I have a couple questions just to refresh my memory. I saw a data point on a kitchen or a processing facility being moved. Can you remind me how we operate?
Yeah. Do you want to do that? Or you want me to?
Sure. The one that we moved was a production kitchen. We moved it from OMS to RCI, and we didn't have to, if we kept it at OMS, I'd have to add another employee there, but I didn't. By moving it to RCI, we did not have to add another employee. So RCI cooks all the food for Brooklyn, and then we send it down.
Okay.
We should clarify when we say all the food. When we say all the food, there are certain foods that we actually cook at Brooklyn and Prairie View. Those are our two satellite kitchens. So vegetables don't keep very long in a Cambro. So we actually steam those vegetables at those facilities in order to give the best product we can for kids.
Thanks. So that's where I was going. And does every school building have a kitchen that, yeah, can you just walk me through how that's happening?
So we have satellite kitchens at, which means they get food from a production kitchen at two places, Prairie View and Brooklyn. All the other places are actually production kitchens, and all the food is made at those kitchens.
And I understand that obviously, ideally, you want to have kitchens everywhere because that's a better product and better everything. Okay, so then I have three questions. One is, do you have any idea what other districts are doing on the participation front that, right, even if it's 50 to 55 on free and reduced or on the regular pay to play or pay to eat lunch, any idea what the districts are doing to have increased participation numbers?
What I can tell you is free and reduced lunch percentages typically mean higher numbers typically, not by a lot, but by a little bit. That helps. Do we know what they're actually doing? A lot of the districts, I would say probably over half are actually vended situations. So they're, who's the MIG vendor that's out there?
Who does the vending machines?
No, not the, I'm sorry.
Oh, Taher.
Taher is the main one that does that. So it's more of a private organization that has a profit motive out there in addition to their employee labor and food costs. So we don't, I can say that a number of years ago I was at Wanakee. They have Taher. They would have, for instance, a chef every month or something that would come in and have a special line that the person had cooked. I'm sure that has an impact of increasing some participation. The other thing that Wanakee is known for is larger portions. We can't provide those larger portions because we're part of the program, and so we're limited to what portions we can provide. Yeah, what other things can you think of, Mandy?
I think we're all kind of in the same boat because we do belong to the WeSNIPS group, was the Wisconsin Co-op group, and we all kind of sit and we talk about different ways, and we're all kind of struggling in the same, trying to get free and reduced.
Yeah, how about the regular participation? Is there anything that you?
We've all kind of tried the same things.
Yeah.
Second chance breakfast was a big thing for people who had started this year, so that's how we're going that route. That's how I heard of it. Some people are just doing, I'm trying to think, we're all kind of in the same boat.
I would say, yeah, I think there's some districts that probably have closed campus. I don't know that there's
Some
many.
have closed campus where they can't
I mean,
leave.
we're at 34%. I mean, our other buildings are, our elementaries are at like 60. So that really lowers our numbers because of the number of options people have at the building when they can leave. We're not proposing closing that, but we really would participate. We'd really appreciate if they would stay on campus and take advantage of the options that we can provide.
Yeah. Oh, I can't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So that's, I guess, where you're taking me to where I'm going is, right, there's either cost cutting, which I realize is difficult. There's driving participation, which isn't necessarily in our control. And then I keep hearing about, the culture change at OHS, but I didn't know this, that it's, generations or decades old of that. So, how I'm here for trying to change culture. It's not that I want to just say, oh, forget it and throw the towel in, but if we can't, are there options to, not have as broad of an assortment? Not that I want the 34% of people who are eating, I don't want them to suffer by any means, but how do we right size our approach to what we're doing? Because I think, it seems very complex, and obviously you live and breathe it, but I'm just curious about what your options are, because it can't just be about increasing the cost.
Yeah, we have talked a little bit about decreasing options, and we could obviously save some food costs if we didn't have as many options that we have. But I think we feel the school community wants us to have all these healthy options, and so that's a tough thing to, as we've kind of built the capacity to do, to retrench from. But that is something that we could look at a little bit. I don't think that closes the gap.
She's already decreased the menu cycles.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the?
Yeah, I have decreased menu cycles, so there isn't as many options as well, just so that every 4 weeks it's kind of the same menu. So we are using the same products as well. We get a better deal on that if we're buying it in the bulk and stuff like that. We have
And for the record, I'm here for all the healthy options, and my hat is not to how can we narrow food offerings. I'm just was trying to better understand the financial implications, and mostly the culture. As I think about the 34%, I don't have the answer, but if we can't change the culture and we have there's a ceiling on how high we can raise prices, there's some other things that have got to be done, right? I mean,
Well, there's not a ceiling necessarily. The concern that we have is at what point do we drive people away?
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
There's a supply and demand. Okay, I'm done.
Other questions? Nathan?
Just a couple. Thanks again for all the great work and information on this. As a part of, I know, Leslie, don't you put together like an annual survey plan? You and the rest of have we done, or do you do a food survey? I just don't remember. Okay, maybe an opportunity. I'm sure you guys are thinking the same. And then just thinking about, our family's life, is there ever opportunity for just between sports, right? Like after school and before sports start? I know a lot of the schools, the parents, they're rounding up Subway to put on the bus to take for away games and stuff. And there's a lot of parent work that goes into that. Now that's special and different than a school lunch. So I realize that's different. It may not be popular, but would the part of the survey also maybe look for other unique needs where the district's food program could be profitable and beneficial and other school related functions just outside of the normal lunch hour? So those are just a couple of thoughts I had. I'm not an expert in this either, just thought I would share, and just want to thank you for all your good work.
That's a great thought. I've actually sat down with Brittany and kind of dabbled in that.
Okay.
route.
Yeah. So we're either
I
making
appreciate
PB&Js or we're buying $11
Yeah.
Subways or
So I
something. So
appreciate
yeah.
that.
And I snickered with my friend Heather here when we first flashed the food prices up. I'm like, sell it to adults. I'd take homemade food for that
Right.
price. So. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate all the information and the numbers, and I have several questions. I seem to be getting feedback. Let's see if I can
Oh,
get rid
probably
of that.
me.
So Andy, I think what you said was that, but I want confirmation. So the federal subsidy for free and reduced meals are becoming more stringent?
So there's two things that have happened. I would say that there's not as much additional money going in from a year-to-year basis. It's not as a priority for the current administration as it has been in the past. So that's happened. The other component of it is the ease of which somebody can be certified as free and reduced lunch has changed, because there was a process where that kind of happened automatically, and there are some people that now are not automatically put into that direct cert process that were in the past. It doesn't change our numbers much, but 10, 15 kids, something like that, is the number that I think it dropped. That in conjunction with also being more, the federal government being more strict with guidelines as to who gets into those programs, I think has hurt us a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit.
Okay, all right. And then, Mandy, I had a question for you, or maybe it's Andy, I'm not sure. But so Rooted, that collaboration, does that net us less expensive because there's really no gas price increase?
It is less expensive because they are just, I want to say, they're just a local company who is producing for schools. They want to get into schools, and so it is cheaper to buy a product that is closer to you. And you can kind of, I don't want to say haggle, but you can kind of pick a price and be like, can I take this many pounds in the squash for this price? And they will come back at you if they don't like that price, but it's kind of, you get to pick that price. And if you can say, I want 30 pounds at this price, they're more apt to give it to you,
Okay,
which is nice.
yeah. And so the 34% at OHS, do we know, is that like, is there a difference 9, 10, 11, 12?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, the high schools, that 34% is, what we find, I think, is that the driver's license is the freedom.
that's why I'm asking.
Yes. So, and even, I work with a student who's a freshman, and he has friends who
Right.
have driver's licenses. So I'm constantly trying to find a day that works for us. And he's like, Fridays are bad. We go out to eat Fridays. I'm like, okay, all right, that's fine.
So I guess, do we know, like, at 9, 12, are we still in the 50% range? Are we down in the 40s? I mean, are the 10, 11, 12s at like 20?
yeah, I don't have that number,
Okay.
but we could definitely put that as something to look at too.
Just curious. And then you mentioned that there's no recommendation to increase the cost of breakfast.
Yeah, we're on the higher side of that price right now compared to our comparables. I didn't provide that information tonight.
Okay.
So we kind of felt like, well, if we're trying to increase participation of that program, we probably should leave the pricing alone at this point in time.
Okay, so that much higher, like,
Yeah.
even if we went up a couple of pennies or whatever, it's,
We usually try to go up at least a nickel
Yeah,
just to
right.
keep things. But yeah, we were thinking that we were on the higher side of that already.
Okay.
So
and then my last question, I think, is, so the not being able to decrease after you've increased, is that a DPI thing? Is that a state law? And what's the rationale?
I don't know the rationale. I just know that our consultants told me that as a caution at the end. I think it's, as far as I understand, it's part of the National School Lunch Program, that once you set that price, you can't go back the other way. So I can find out more if you'd like, but she just shared that with me.
Just seems odd. Okay, thank you.
No, I'm like taking it all in because I missed the first part of the thing, so.
All right, back to you, Heather.
Okay, so I have two questions on this. So I know that we've historically done a standard increase of X across the board, but is there room for, K through 4 to do the 40% and 5 through 8, to do the 30, and high school to do the 20, especially as we're looking at weighted percentages of, you've got a more captive audience at K through 4. And I guess also, so that's one question is, does it have to be, the straight 40 cents, or can we skew that accordingly?
I don't actually know that answer. We'll find out.
I'd be interested in sort of a weighted approach, especially because, increasing 40% for the high school and they're only at 34% of participation may not move the needle. And, maybe there's a price sensitivity to that. And then my other question is, from your margin, I don't have I see your prices, but I don't know like what the cost of a K through 4 meal or the cost of a 5 through 8 meal versus 9 through 12. And so I would just be curious in considering not just a flat thing, but where does it make sense, or where do we need it, right? If the portions are bigger, as you go up in age group, I've got to imagine the margin is lower if we're, I see there's price differential, but yeah, I would just be curious about those two things as we examine that.
So I'll weigh in here. First off, I want to echo what you started with, Heather, and just the recognition of increased offerings that we've had, increase in healthy choices that we've been providing, and so really want to say kudos to you, Mandy, for all of that great work that you've done over the past couple of years to increase the quality of our food offerings. I'm really not surprised by some of these increases when I think about the trend of economics today with tariffs and fuel prices, and understanding that our health insurance costs are probably contributing to this with our food service employee benefits. One thing I'd be looking for, I'm just curious about, would be a history, maybe like a 10-year history of our fund balance standing, because this is something we go through every year. We never hit it. We never can hit it just right. We don't know what the participation is going to be. We don't always know what the costs are. So I think it'd be interesting to see a 10-year graph of fund service balance, maybe plotted against the increases that we've had over those years.
The only thing I will mention is it looks like a little bit of a roller coaster with COVID in there, but yes,
Sure.
We can explain.
Sure. Yeah. Gap those years. And then lastly, I'll just say, I think as we come back to this topic in July, this is really a philosophical discussion for the board. As do we want to continue to try to have food service be self-sufficient or not? And how much variance do we feel like we want to allow with that differential? So that's all I had. If there's no further questions or comments, thank you both again, and we'll be revisiting this topic in 2 months. Thank you. All right, next up, I think we're still on informational items, probably going back to teaching and learning update.
Well, actually, we've got a little bit on the federal and state legislative update. Of course, many of you have heard from the news. There was a bit of there was a bit of an update today, and Andy has been getting a lot of input from fellow business managers across the state, because obviously the possibility of the special education reimbursement rate changing is exciting. So I'll pass that over to you, Andy.
Sure. So about noon, my day changed today as things were released. And then it changed again probably around 4:30 or 5 o'clock as perhaps some of the press releases were not accurate when you look at the bill. And then I have to remind everybody that it's just a bill right now. I'm thinking of the Schoolhouse Rock thing right now. It hasn't actually been approved by anyone. Supposedly there's a deal cut, but what I know as of now is that there is actually the special education funding actually is in two components. It's actually to get us to 42% this year. It is some certain, which is not the one we wanted. We wanted some sufficient, but it's some certain. So we're going to be playing that guessing game as to what everybody submits to the state, what gets approved, and then how much money's there to get to that percentage. So, but we should be much closer to the 42% than we anticipated yesterday, where we're at probably close to 38.5% or 38.4 or something is what we were anticipating. So that's good. We won't have the hole in the budget or the hole in the finances this year that we thought we would, assuming this gets passed. And then next year, the intent is to get close to 50%. Now we'll probably discount that because again, we're some certain, not some sufficient, so we can't count on it, and it'll depend on what everybody submits. But we could be talking close to, I'm going to discount it a little bit. I'm probably, $800,000 of additional funds for next year, which is a good number. And we would have a lot more flexibility if this all gets passed. The other component that deals with schools is there is a new state aid, but it's allocated on a per student basis. So all I'll tell you is now we have 3 ways to provide property tax relief to our constituents. We have state equalized aid, which we've had for 25, 30 years. We have school levy credit, which we actually don't get the money for. It goes to municipalities, but that reduces our levy. And now we will have a new allocation, which is about $302 million or $305 million. That will be on a per student allocation based on the 3-year average, but not spendable. It'll actually decrease our levy. So if I've shown you my some of the spreadsheets from DPI, we will have a new line in the middle of all that, which will be a deduct before we get to our levy. So that's what I know of right now. It apparently is agreed to from all the parties, but still needs to get passed and signed by the governor. There are other components which are not school related to overtime and tips, as well as checks that would be received by everybody that paid a tax return last year and had a liability of $300 per person, I believe. So that's the gist of the bill that I recall, but the two main components are the state aid number and getting that closer to what we want, and exceeding to the 45% for next year and actually getting closer to 50, some certain, not some sufficient, and then the state aid component, which is actually property tax relief. So with that said, anybody have any questions?
Okay. Well, that is good news, but I'm not holding my breath. But excited about the potential thought. What is the timeline for understanding when this agreed upon bill maybe is enacted upon, and how?
Yeah.
Oh, this week. Okay, great. Wow, everybody seemed to know that, not me. Sorry. And just a question, Andy. Do you see? I know you don't have a crystal ball. Is some certain the way that this is just going to continue to roll even as they increase the percentage? What is the? Tell me more about. I understand the difference, but tell me more about why we're still living in this insufficient world.
I think that's probably a political question as to where people prioritize things. I'll also say, just from a numbers perspective, right? Like, if you were sufficient, that means that whatever the people submitted to the state would have to be paid at that percentage. And so I think there are legislators that are afraid of that, would probably be my guess. But, from our perspective, we would like to be able to count on the number that we're given.
Any other questions or comments? All right, back to you, Leslie.
All right, let's share some additional good news, because that was really good news. And here's some more. So May is a very popular month for celebrating schools and educators. We have had so many celebratory weeks and days, and we started out May right away with School Lunch Hero Day, which is really appropriate given the fact that we had the presentation tonight on our school nutrition program. And our school nutrition team really is just the best around, and the theme of Lunch Heroes is pretty appropriate. It's also been National Physical Education Week, so we know how important movement is to our students and their health, and we're super grateful for our physical education teachers and all that they do. But obviously, both components that we just said, the school lunch program or school meal program and movement, are both critical for kids and their health. And speaking of health, May 6th was School Nurse Day. So we celebrated our phenomenal, really excellent OSD nurses who take such great care of our students every day. And we're also really appreciative of the health assistants who work in our school health offices. So every school has a school health assistant, and then our nursing staff, they cover more than one school as part of their job assignment. And then, of course, last week was Educator Appreciation Week, and we really loved honoring every single educator in our buildings. We appreciate you. I'm speaking directly to our educators, and value all that you do every single day. And I know that there were many ways to celebrate people throughout the week, and the vast majority of them were connected to food. There was a lot of food in the buildings last week as a way to show appreciation, and that was really nice. So for Netherwood Kindergarten, there's so much going on in our schools, and our kindergartners are practicing their numbers and their letters. This is with Miss Strutt at Netherwood. They're doing it outside in a gorgeous Sunday afternoon. It looks like, or excuse me, sunny afternoon. It looks like every child has their own little square on the sidewalk. So keep up the great work, kindergartners. Our educators are always looking for the best ways to engage our students, and we love that. And then RCI had, and if you had children go through the district, so many of you have experienced the Wax Museum. And RCI just had theirs recently too. Throughout the project, students researched a historical figure of interest, created a poster board display, and gathered artifacts representing their subject. And finally, the students brought the person to life by dressing in costume. So thanks to our educators for offering this engaging learning activity that's been embraced by students, families, and friends for a very long time. And then fifth grade just had a band concert. So congratulations to our fifth grade students from Rome Corners on a wonderful band concert. Your hours and hours of work paid off. And fifth and sixth had a math meet. So our fifth and sixth grade students who competed in the recent regional math meet in DeForest are depicted here. The top 2 teams, including one from the OSD, will advance to the mega meet next week. So additional congratulations to our 4 OSD students, Logan, Isaac, Blair, and Drew, who placed in the top 5 at the competition. And then we mentioned this last time, I believe, our OHS robotics team, referred to as Orange Overdrive, competed in the first robotics competition world championship in Houston, Texas. And from qualifying at state to attending a national, or excuse me, world championship was, we're talking about a matter of days to make all of that happen. And our team is only in their 2nd year, and this is how far they made it. So everybody is so proud of their hard work and their dedication. Many thanks to the team advisor, Nate Johnson, for supporting our students and offering this really amazing opportunity. So make sure to tune in to this coming to WMTV 15 News this coming Thursday at 4 p.m., where some of our students from the team will be talking about their experience live on the news. So that'll be a really fun thing for all of us to see too. Then the OHS Imagine Club, congratulations to them. They received a special grant award by the recent Youth for Youth Award Committee. Out of the 43 applications, Imagine was one of the 9 groups selected to receive funds in Dane County. Imagine's club members will use the funds for a run-walk during 26-27 school year to raise awareness during Sexual Assault Awareness Month, to support survivors, educate the school community, and promote healthy relationships. So special thanks to OHS School Counselor and Imagine Club Advisor, Ms. Schaefer, for offering this opportunity for our students. And you see Ms. Schaefer here with 2 of our students. And then State Solo Ensemble, congratulations to all the students who participated in Wisconsin School Music Association State Solo Ensemble Festival. Once again, your hard work and dedication came through in those performances, and everybody's really proud of you. And many thanks to our music educators for continuing to support this for our students and share the joy of music. And speaking of joy, last week was the District Art Show. It was a wonderful evening at the Oregon High School Art Gallery, where we gathered to view the really impressive student artwork selected for the show. It was a very memorable night, and it was a lot of families that included grandparents and little siblings and big siblings. It was really a family affair as people came in, picked up the award certificate, and then went into the art gallery to view not only their child's work, but the work of many children across the district. It was super meaningful, really powerful. It was just a lot of fun. It was our core values in action. And then our high school students, they put on an annual variety show. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this, but it happens every spring. It was an evening filled with fantastic performances and really great talent. We love watching you perform. And many thanks to the staff members who go above and beyond to allow these opportunities to take place. Of course, the podcast. So we're doing some with our robotics team on Friday. But we also want to take a moment to congratulate our board member who is now a UW-Madison graduate as of this weekend. Congratulations, Leslie Wright.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Now we will go to our closing future agenda. So we'll be back here in a month for our June meeting. Checkout. Anything for checkout? We'll start over here with Heather.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Miss Stark at FES. I'm sure many teachers do this, but they're doing the countdown of, A to Z. There were 26 days of school when they started. We just completed day 23, so there's 22 left. And she sent home a great chart the kids are excited about every day, doing something that has to do with the letter of the alphabet as we count down. And my son in middle school, while he's not doing the activities, also really appreciates the knowing exactly how many days of school are left, even though he's not involved. So thank you for just making, this is a hectic time of year, and just thanks for making it fun and still engaging for the kids.
Nathan.
I'm glad to learn from Heather how many days there are left of school. Having a high school senior, I actually have no idea other than getting the gown to Clinky and just figuring out getting him through AP exams. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
Mary? Nothing? Leslie?
So I have a couple of things. First of all, thank you all for that kind words about graduation. But so I got to go to art show last week. It was fabulous. It was wonderful to see all of the different art from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And it was so there were some really cool pieces. It was just amazing. There was everything from just drawings to 3D art and ceramics. It was just awesome. And then I ran into my mentee, and we were discussing clubs here at the high school. And I just wanted to do a shout out to all the teachers and educational assistants or anybody else who spends their extra time to be there and spend time with kids so that they can have clubs. Because he told me about D&D club, he told me about video game club, he said that they're looking for people for Super Mario Smash Brothers. Can't speak tonight anymore. And it was really excited to see him so involved and to see the growth there. So what you're doing out there, teachers, that makes a huge difference. Thank you for spending your extra time. And then you mentioned the 5th grade band concert. Sorry I was late tonight, but there was the 6th grade band concert for both FES and RCI, and it was amazing. It was, the kids did a really, really great job. And shout out to both band teachers for all of the changes of getting on and off the stage with all the kids, because they didn't just play all together for the whole set. They were FES, and then it was RCI, and then they played together. So there were a couple of different times that you had to keep everybody organized. And so that was a lot of work. So thank you, guys.
Great. And the superintendent's report reminded me of Educators Week last week, and I just want to recognize and thank our local businesses for the generous gift that they gave to all of our educators. So they, several of our local businesses provided some support to share with all of our educators. So it's just a great community that we live in that clearly supports all of our wonderful educators. So I want to say thank you to those businesses. With that, we'll move to consideration of closed sessions. So we will consider adjourning into closed session on items G1 and G2 as provided under Wisconsin Statutes 19.851C, F, and G. That is to approve our closed session minutes from March 18th and May 4th, and to discuss employment and evaluation data of certified staff pursuant to 19.851C, and confer with legal counsel regarding potential litigation regarding personnel matters pursuant to Wisconsin Statutes 19.851G. A motion by Heather, is there a second? Second by Mary, any discussion? Katie, please call the roll.
Ms. Garrison?
Yes.
Dr. Lakuta? Yes. Mr. Hensel? Yes. Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Mr. Pankratz?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. We will reconvene in about 5 minutes in the room next door. Thank you, everyone.